Good evening. First off, I would like to express our appreciation for the outpouring of public support that we've had over the last couple of very difficult days. Sergeant Steve Owen was a 24-year Lancaster Antelope Valley veteran, and certainly one of the best and friendliest persons you'd ever know. So again, we've had a tremendous outpouring of public support. I can't really tell you about all the flowers and cards and expressions of condolences. But again, I do want to make that clear on behalf of the Lancaster Station personnel that we do appreciate that. With that, I've introduced Sheriff Jim McDonnell to be able to give you a little bit of current briefing.
Thank you, Pat. Today we mourn the loss of a man who made a difference to his family, his fellow deputies, and his community. I want to thank the reporters who are taking the time to describe the numerous acts of kindness, service, and mentoring that define the life of Sergeant Steve Owen. Thank you to those who placed flowers and candles at this memorial, who took the time to tell his colleagues how much he'll be missed. Thank you to the men, women, and children who are describing in great detail the inspired conversations they had with Sergeant Owen. They are saying that on their worst day, he helped them believe that tomorrow would be a better one. Today I was able to spend time with his family, and they are devastated, as you can imagine. I've been with our deputies, many who knew Steve Owen for decades, some who have only known him a while, but long enough to know how much he had to teach and how much they, as young deputies, had to learn. This is a reminder that our relationship with you, our public, is not political, it's personal. The political discourse nationally and here in California about criminal justice reform, or the broad brush criticism of officers' tactics, or important conversation about inherent bias by law enforcement, or frankly, our public, which includes the media. These are important and necessary conversations that we're having. However, today, I ask that we lower our voices and raise our sights to see that in the life and death of Sergeant Steve Owen, it simply came down to this: a life of service to others, a 911 call for help, a predator armed with a gun, and a deputy sworn to protect his community, doing all that he could to stand between danger and the rest of the public that we're privileged to serve. Sergeant Steve Owen lost his life in that very profound moment, but will remain with us for a lifetime. It's our tradition to reserve the title hero for only those who have been formally recognized for acts of heroism. It's a word intentionally reserved for someone like Sergeant Steve Owen. We will speak of Steve Owen for the deputy that he was, a man who, by all accounts, exemplified all that we stand for at the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. He is and always will be an important part of our history and American history as well. A man worth remembering. The suspect, I won't speak his name here. He first came into our custody as a juvenile, selling marijuana, as so many others do. He then graduated to more serious crimes, where he was arrested 11 times, 2 of which resulted in state prison terms. He will fade away in the judicial process that will ultimately adjudicate his case. If convicted, he will face yet again more time in prison. And this is what I want our public to understand. If the trend of legislative mandates continues, he may get yet another opportunity to return to our community for yet another chance at rehabilitation and redemption, and possibly another chance for another murder. Here was a guy, a parolee who was classified as moderate risk. We see that these risk assessments have their limitations. Yesterday, he was a parolee walking our streets with a stolen gun. Today, he's facing charges of murdering a peace officer. Sergeant Owen approached the suspect in response to a burglary call. The suspect immediately shot Sergeant Owen. He then stood over him and executed Sergeant Owen by firing 4 additional rounds into his body. He then unsuccessfully searched the body for the sergeant's weapon with the intent to use it to murder the first responding deputy. The responding deputy engaged the suspect who had pointed his weapon at him. The responding deputy fired numerous times, striking the suspect once in the shoulder. Not only did the suspect want to kill our deputies, he held 2 teenagers hostage in a neighboring house until they were rescued by the heroic efforts of our Special Enforcement Bureau and our Lancaster Station personnel. He was subsequently arrested in the surrounding neighborhood without further incident. Once again, I want to thank you for being with us today, and thank you for respecting the privacy of the Owen family. I'm happy to open up and take any questions that you have at this point. Please realize that we may not be able to answer all. The investigation is still moving forward.
Sheriff, in light of his background, which you just told us,
Right.
I'm not going to mention his name out of respect for what you just said. Did the sheriff, did the deputy, or the sergeant, or anybody else have any idea that he was out in the street? Did they have any prior knowledge that he was out of this community?
Not that we have any information. He was out there like so many others that are back in our communities after serving time, many who repeatedly cycle through the system over and over again.
So pretty lawmakers who pass legislation that makes it easier for criminals to get out.
I'm sorry, give me the first part of that again.
What do you want to tell lawmakers who pass legislation that seems to make it easier for criminals to get out?
I think it's time that we had a serious conversation. We all believe in second chances and a chance for redemption, and that's what America's all about. But there are a limited number of chances where somebody doesn't get a free pass to continue to do this type of violent, violence that we see over and over again in so many different cases. There is legislation coming up or opportunities to be able to vote. I would ask the public that they read those very, very closely and very carefully, because a lot is at stake.
Sheriff, was the suspect, was he lying in wait somewhere? Was he hiding? Did Sergeant Owen simply not see him, or can you give details on that?
You know, we don't have a definitive answer to that at this point. He was in the area as Sergeant Owen pulled up to the scene to investigate the burglary call. Sergeant Owen had placed himself to the rear of the residence in an effort to be able to set up containment on the location. And at that point, he encountered the suspect, and the suspect then shot him.
Sheriff, it's been a long time since something like this has happened. Does this speak up for American national?
Well, I think we're all pretty aware of what's going on a national level, that the number of shootings, ambushes, targeting officers across the country has risen. It is of great concern to all of us in the profession. We deal with it certainly every single day, and some would criticize us in saying that we're overreacting, or we're not telling the story as it needs to be told. Well, I think this is an example of how any call can turn into a deadly call for any of the folks that are out there putting their life on the line every day and every night.
How's our family doing? And have you spoken to the suspect's family?
I have not spoken to the suspect's family personally. The sergeant's family, as I mentioned, is devastated. This is an individual who, no matter who you talk to in the department, no matter who you talk to in the community, was a larger-than-life person. He's somebody who was the epitome of what it means to be a peace officer, somebody who looked for opportunities continuously to make someone else's day better than it was when he interacted with them. But he was somebody who held people accountable. He went out there every day and worked hard. And, if we could portray somebody to our academy recruits, that if you want to do the job as well as it can be done, this is the individual you need to look to. He walked the talk.
Sure. Do you have any information to indicate that the sergeant may have tried to avoid a shooting, that he did have his gun out, but then, decided to not use it and not complete the shot?
Yeah, there was only the two of them there initially, so I don't know that we'll ever be able to answer what happened in that split second. We do believe that the suspect, the sergeant had his gun out and requested an additional unit. The suspect, may have been able to draw a weapon without from the way his body was positioned, without the sergeant being able to see it. And I think that so many don't understand that when we talk about somebody drawing a weapon, this happens in fractions of a second. And somebody who knows what they want to do, come up on target with a gun that's been secreted previously and fire and kill you. It happens very, very quickly.
Sergeant, that brings up a point. greater community are arguing that when the law enforcement officer confronts a suspect with a gun, perhaps the officer needs to try to talk the suspect down from the gun.
Right.
What do you tell your law enforcement officer? Because we don't want to see another sort of situation.
Thank you. I appreciate that question. People have an expectation that, much like they see on TV and in the movies, that every time somebody confronts an officer and they have a weapon, that we should try and de-escalate the situation. Once somebody's at that point and they have a weapon, this stuff happens in split seconds, so you have to make a determination very quickly what the appropriate level of force will be. And if someone is pointing a gun at deputy sheriff and officer, the expectation is that they're there to use that to kill them. And so deadly force is appropriate in those circumstances. Thank you.
Sheriff, I just want to clarify this here. Obviously, you know, the suspect situation behind you. Do you believe this man is on election because of Prop 47?
No, I don't have any information that he was a Prop 47 individual.
Or early release because of good behavior behind bars?
Certainly, that's always the case with any folks who go to jail or prison. You know, early release is part of the system we work in.
Sheriff, you've been around a long time. You're a veteran in a lot of these things. Knowing you personally, you seem very, very emotionally upset by this. Is this something that hit you very hard, harder than most?
Well, I think I had the privilege of knowing him, and after coming on the job, I had the opportunity to be able to ride in a couple of on horseback in a couple of events, the Rose Parade, the Martin Luther King Day Parade, the parade in East LA. And he was there. He was there kind of helping guide me and mentor me on a horse. I had never done that before, and he was somebody who was a real horseman. And he took the time and the effort to be able to be like he was in every contact he had with everybody else. Truly a gentleman, somebody who wanted to be able to be helpful in whatever it was he did. So having the privilege of knowing him, having the benefit now of meeting his whole family, being able to talk to so many deputies who work so closely with him and members of the community who really held him in such high regard. Our electeds from the city, everybody looked to Steve as the go-to guy, if you will. And within the organization, he was looked to, just as a role model for everybody else. He was somebody that, to be like, this would be the individual we would probably use as one of the models. Thank you.
I was talking to some deputies who say that since the sheriff, that usually hard on some policies, and that there are many that are afraid to do sports, that are afraid to do their job practically. I just wanted to ask you if they say that you may be going to street and officers restrain and expecting a job.
You know, that's something that is, part of a bigger conversation. Certainly we are holding our own employees to a very high level of professionalism. When you look at, what's going on nationwide, that is certainly what the public's expectations are. But in a use of force situation where deadly force is appropriate, as we mentioned earlier, it's a split-second decision. I don't know that there's another profession out there where we ask so much of our people and give them so little information. You have a split second to respond to a deadly force threat, and you've got to make that decision, and one that will potentially haunt you for the rest of your life or end your life if you don't do it appropriately. So there's an awful lot at stake. When you look at doctors, lawyers, engineers, architects, everybody who does something important has the opportunity to be able to get a second opinion, to be able to bring in a consultant, to be able to take another look at it. We don't have that benefit. When we get out there, and often it's a potentially a screaming woman, screaming man call, that's all the information you have. And you go into a situation that's often fueled by emotion, alcohol, drugs, mental illness, and you have to be able to protect everybody who's at the scene, yourself and your partners, with so little information, and the stakes are as high as you could possibly get. So we ask an awful lot of our people. We hold them to a high standard, and we try and support them every step of the way that we possibly can, with training, hiring the right people, our recruitment efforts, and being able to debrief every situation that we have. So hopefully we learn something from every situation we're involved in.
Sheriff, that brings me to another question. Following this tragedy, some people have said that the suspect was probably
when somebody would defend the suspect that said he was defending himself. I think by his actions and his background that we see that we knew what he was out there doing, knock-knock burglaries, and taking advantage of people. He showed that not only by his assault and murder of our sergeant, but also the hostage taking of 2 young people, the intent to be able to kill the responding deputy as well. This is an individual that was certainly the aggressor, was somebody who was truly a predator and not somebody who was defending himself in any manner.
Details of a memorial service been worked out yet?
Somebody just learned to whistle, I guess.
I didn't see one.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, say that one more
Details of
time.
a memorial service yet?
No, we have not. Family is finalizing those plans today, and I believe tomorrow we'll probably have some more information on that.
Sure. We think that the narrative, the national narrative of law enforcement using legal enforcement is necessary, had anything to do with Sergeant Owen not using we were.
You know, I think that there will be speculation as to a whole number of things when you look and you break this down. We debrief everything to the nth degree to be able to learn what we can and be better for each experience we have. But knowing Steve Owen, he was a professional. He knew our use of force policies. He had been a deputy sheriff for 29 years. This was an individual that was mature, that was well-versed, solid tactics, hard-working individual. He's not somebody that I think would be swayed by political correctness. He would do the right thing under the right circumstances, and I'm very comfortable with that.
Sheriff, this suspect is convicted and eligible for the death penalty. Where do you stand on that?
You know, the death penalty, as far as him being convicted, well, I think it'd be very appropriate in this case. I mean, there's a long process to go through before any of that, but when you look at what we know at this point, this was a calculated execution.
What's the condition of the other deputy who was referred yesterday?
Yeah, treated and released. And there was information out there initially that the two deputies had been shot, and that was not the case.
The suspect had been hospitalized.
I'm sorry, suspect was treated and released, is in custody, in our custody.
You know anything more about what happened in the moment of the shooting? Where this one dead frozen man, you said anything to them, what they came out hurt?
Yeah, no, they came out unhurt because our Special Enforcement Bureau, our SWAT team, responded to the location, made a dynamic entry into the location, used the equipment they had there to be able to, in effect, a rescue of the 2 individuals. The suspect at that point ran out the back of that residence and was captured in the surrounding neighborhood. So I take my hat off to the members of our SWAT team, our Special Enforcement Bureau, who did an amazing job, as well as our Lancaster deputies as well, who assisted with that.
Sure, thank you. How long was when you learned the hostage situation that you made entry and spoke to the team's mother today, and she said she kind of ran out the deputy and that's it. So, just how long was it from when you guys found out about the hostage situation to when you made entry?
It was a matter of minutes. We had SCB in the area. They were readily deployed there as soon as they became aware of that. And given the fact that the situation was dynamic, they made immediate entry and rescued them.
Thank you guys.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.